I'm going to spend a little time today talking about Dreamweaver templates. That is the specific function within Dreamweaver that's called a template. And as I do that, I'm going to actually define a site and show you how I do that from the start, and then how I use templates to make pages appear a certain way. So what I'm going to do is start with, if you recall, I sent you a collection of folders called Course Example. And you can see on my computer here, I have that folder here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to define a site. I'm going to switch to Dreamweaver. And I'm actually working in Dreamweaver 5.5 on the Mac, but it's very, very similar for Windows. And I'm going to go here to this drop-down box and choose Manage Sites. And before I do that, let me show you here. You note I have my panels customized here, so that the ones that I commonly use are here, and the ones that I don't use are gone. And so that's I'm not just cluttering up my interface with a bunch of different panels that I don't use. So if you look here, I have files, and then I have assets. These are media items and things like that that I use within a site. CSS styles. I use this fairly often because as you've seen, I use a style sheet that is applied across all the pages on the site. So I use what's called a site-wide style sheet. Here's the insert panel, and these are things that you commonly would insert on a page, like a rule or a table or an image or a link or things like that. And then here's search. This lets you search either within a file or across your whole website. And then the link checker. This is a nice feature within Dreamweaver that will actually check all the links within your site to see if anything is broken. But for right now, let's just focus on the files and defining a site. Now, for this particular site, I'm not going to use the FTP function. That's where you can actually have a local site and then use Dreamweaver as your FTP program to connect to a remote server and transfer files back and forth using the FTP program that's built into Dreamweaver. I'm just going to build a local site. But if you look here, here's the button to connect to a remote server, a remote host. Here's the refresh button, so if you make a change to any of your files, just kind of like in your browser, you can click this and refresh the files that you see. These are also for FTP. This is to get files from a remote server and then to upload a file to a remote server. Okay? So this little button here lets you manage sites. So I'm going to actually select Manage Sites. And as you can see in this window, I have a few sites that I've defined before, but I'm going to define a new site so you can see what it's like to start from scratch. So I'm going to select New. And by default, Dreamweaver tries to give your site a name, but I'm going to change the name. I'm going to call it Sample Course. And it gives you a little bit of help text. A site is a collection of all the files and assets you use within a website. A local file and then a remote folder. But again, I'm just going to have a local folder. So Dreamweaver is trying to guess where my folder is. And so I'm actually going to show it by clicking on this icon. And I'm going to go to my courses. And this is the local folder. This is the folder on my computer that contains all those web pages. You can see them here. Okay, these are the files that I sent you, same files. So what I'm going to do is I have this folder selected. This is the folder that contains all the files, and I'm going to choose that folder. And when I click Save, you're going to see Dreamweaver is going to say, okay, I'm going to just scan through all those files that are in that folder, and I'm going to recognize that as that's your website. This is the website that you're creating, and it's called Sample Course. And when I click Done, when I come over here to my file list, see I'm in the Files panel, I will see all of these files listed that are within that one folder called 2014 Sample Course. And if you look, you'll see this is probably a familiar file structure from what you saw last week. I have an images folder. This is just a nice practice to follow, to put all your images in one folder. I have an index page. Index is a special word that servers recognize as the base page or the start page for a website. So if a server can't figure out which page to start with, it looks for index or it looks for default. Both of those are sort of magic words that servers look for to say this is the start page for a website. So I have that index page. I have all of the HTML files, or almost all of them, within this folder called orientation. So again, imagine this was part of a course, and I have the about page. I'll expand this a little bit. The about page, the instructor's syllabus, answers, resources, schedule, and major assignments, etc. If you're wondering, you get a little more information about the files themselves, how large they are, what they actually are. This says HTML file, means an HTML file. So within this file view, you can find out a little bit more about your files. I've named all these files, and it's important to know that when you change, well, let me talk just a little bit about naming conventions. When you name your files, your file name should be short. This helps you when you're creating links and things like that. They should be one word, and if they have more than one word in them, you connect them with an underscore. You have them all lowercase, and you end them with .htm if they're an HTML file. There are various reasons to do all those things I mentioned, but I want you to just trust me a little bit on this, okay? Keep your file names short. Keep them characters all together, like one word. In this case, I have one word plus a little number here, and I'll tell you why. And keep them all lowercase. If you have to have more than one word, connect it with an underscore and end them in .htm. This is a practice that's going to get your pages the most error-free and recognized by the most servers that are currently used on the internet. Now, if you note, I added a number to some of these pages, and this is really just for me so that I can find these pages quickly when I want to modify them. I have them numbered in the order that they appear in a finished course site. So the first page is always the about page. So rather than just list them in alphabetical order, which would be the default, I put a number here so that I'm still listing them by file name, and the numbers make them appear first. So they will appear in this order. For my major assignment descriptions, I start them all out with the word assignment. So it's an assignment, underline, and then some keyword for the assignment itself. Okay, so those are the HTML files that are part of this site. They're within a folder called orientation. You can make new folders. If you go to the site here and right-click on it, you can make a new file or a new folder. You can open existing files, things like that. So it's nice to organize your files in particular folders according to what they are. That way, if you happen to be working on a site that someone else has created, you will definitely appreciate this because you can find where things are and it makes some logical sense in terms of the files and file names and all that sort of stuff. I have a folder that I created called Style Sheets, and within that style sheet, I have actually two style sheets as denoted by the prefix .css. I named this one Site-Wide Style Sheet, so I would know, okay, this is a style sheet that's applied to all the pages on the site. And I did this before, but if I open this, you can see it doesn't look like a regular web page, and I can't view it in design view. I can only view it in code view because it is a CSS file, cascading style sheets. So it describes what the different headers and text and links are going to look like on the site. This other style sheet was one that I imported when I was making a particular kind of table, and it makes my table appear a certain way. It was at this site, rawscripts.com. I don't even know if it's still there, but I used this style sheet for a particular table design. So the headers looked a certain way, and the border around the table and so forth. You're not required to do that, but just know that you can have style sheets that apply to all kinds of things, like to your entire site, or just to a particular page, or just to one particular tag or set of tags like a table, or even just to one particular link you can apply a style to. So styles, that's why they're said to cascade, because they can have different levels of permissions, so to speak. but all you really need to think about right now is this site-wide sheet, because it applies to all the styles across the entire web page. Now here's a folder called templates. And one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this file, which is the one called roadmap. What's it called? Roadmap nested. That's a template that's nested within another template, so that's kind of complicated. So I'm just going to delete that file, and so I'm just dealing with one template. When you look at this file, it has an extension .dwt. That stands for Dreamweaver template. And if I open this file, you're going to see what looks like just a really short web page. This is actually a template page, and the way you can tell is it has these green boxes with names on them. This one is called headline, and this one is called body text. These are what Dreamweaver calls editable regions, as in editable. Not edible, you can't eat these, but editable. So I'm able to edit within these regions of a given web page. The reason they're called that is because if you look at the other pages on my site, for example, if I open the syllabus page, if you look at this page, you see this content, which is the same as what was on the template. By the way, you'll note when you have multiple pages open in Dreamweaver, you can go up here and you can switch between the pages, and it shows you the file name of the pages. Okay, so here's the syllabus. Here's the template called master template. And you can see they both have the same header. Now, if you've used PowerPoint before, a template in Dreamweaver is like a master slide in PowerPoint. Okay, when you're working in PowerPoint, and let's say you're going to have a whole bunch of slides, and you want to have your logo appear in the bottom right corner of all the slides, and you want it to have a hot pink background on all the slides, you put those elements, you define those elements on what PowerPoint calls a master slide. So then whenever you make a new slide, it's based on that master slide. So that way you don't have to put your logo on every slide within the PowerPoint. You can just put it on the master slide, and it will appear there on every slide. I'm imagining you nodding your head now. Yes, you understand that. You've done that before. Okay. Well, a template within Dreamweaver operates the same way. It's like the master slide in PowerPoint. So for example, when I'm working on a course and I want to use a template that's going to be applied to all the different HTML pages, I have a template that looks like this, and here I have the name of the course, IDT 7090, and I have some links here, and then down here I have an anchor link and a little table and a Creative Commons image. So this is like the little copyright notice. So on every page that I apply this template to, it's going to have these elements. So you should start, no, I'll switch over to the syllabus. So you should think about the advantage of this when you're building your course or building your project, because this means you can put elements on the template one time, and those elements will appear on every page that you have. This is very, very useful for navigation. When you are making the navigation to your site, it can be cumbersome if you're talking about a 25-page site or larger, to make sure those links work on every single page. And if you have to change something, then you'd have to change it on all 25 pages. Now there are some ways to do that with find and replace, but a really convenient way to do it is with Dreamweaver templates. So you'll note when I'm looking at the syllabus page here, I can click on the different elements and I could make a change. If I want to say catalog description, etc. So I can type into this document, okay, and I can change my syllabus, update it. And if I wanted to change that image, I can change the image. If I want to change the title, I can, this is the serious syllabus. Okay, I can change the elements on my syllabus. But you'll note, and you see I have the I-beam for the cursor. That's what this little guy's called. The cursor's called an I-beam, which lets you know you can edit. Now if I go up here, lo and behold, the cursor changes to a not allowed symbol, as in a not or a do not symbol. What that means is I've moved my cursor into a region of a web page that is controlled by a Dreamweaver template. I'm going to say that one more time. I've moved my cursor into a region of a web page that is controlled by a Dreamweaver template. This means I cannot edit this part of the page because it's being controlled by this document, the Dreamweaver template. Now you'll note when I switch over to the Dreamweaver template, I can modify it. See my I-beam here? Let's say this was actually part 3 of the course. So I add a couple of ones here. See, I can modify this. I can change these elements on the Dreamweaver template. I took out learning and I made this part 3 of this course. Okay. Now you'll note when I switch back to the syllabus, it hasn't changed. But there's a way that you can make it change and make that happen. And the way you do that is, I'm going to switch back to the template. You see I took out the word learning and I added 3. I'm going to save this template. And when I do that, look what Dreamweaver does. It says, whoa, slow down there. All of these files, this is Dreamweaver talking to me. I think it has kind of a Western voice. Hey there, partner. All these files are dependent upon the Dreamweaver template that you're updating. Index, orientation, the about page, instructor page, syllabus, answers. This is just showing which folder it's in. It's in a folder called orientation, and it's a file called answers. Dreamweaver's telling me these files are all based on the template that you just changed. Do you want to update all those files in one fell swoop? And I say, yes, I do. This is the power of templates. I can change the name of the course on the template page, and when I click update, it's going to update all of these pages that are dependent upon this master template. So it reflects the change. So I click update, and Dreamweaver goes through a little quick run through those pages. This is like a little robot doing work for you. And then it gives you a little status message, and it tells you 12 files were examined, 12 files were updated. Files which could not be updated, 0. Total time, it took 1 second. So my little Dreamweaver robot works very quickly for me. So that's what this little box does. It just tells you what has happened. Okay. Now I'm going, and this is called the log. You can have this show or not show. I like to have it show just to make sure I can see that, what happened really happened. So I'll close this. I'm going to go back to the syllabus page, and you will see it. I'm sorry, that's the template. You'll see the change right here. I'm going to close. I'll take out serious. So if you're looking at my syllabus page now, you see it no longer says Design of Interactive Learning Environments 1. It just says Design of Interactive Environments 3. Learning is gone and the numbers changed to 3. That's because the template, this master template, was changed. And that template was then applied to this syllabus page. What's interesting is if I open Resources, you see it was applied to the Resources page as well. Interactive with no learning and part 3. So without even opening that page, it changed behind the scenes. And if I open all the rest of these pages, they'll all be changed as well. So I hope this is clicking for you now, because what this means is you can create the navigation. If you're making a web-based project, e-learning or a particular course or something like that, you can set the navigation and set the colors and what you like the header to look like. You can set all of that in the template, in the master template, and then apply it to all of your content pages. So that for your content pages, you don't have to be thinking about all this stuff, or for that matter, the stuff that's at the bottom. Like if you want to put your name here, it's nice to have a last updated date. I updated this on January 4th, 2014. And you don't have to do that, page by page. You can do it in one shot. You can also have, a link to your contact information, a link to anything you want to promote, copyright notices, anything that sort of standard kind of boilerplate text that's useful to have on a web page. So again, I'm looking at the syllabus page. I get the do not edit here, and I can edit down here because this region is not part of the template itself, and this part is. If you look back at our green boxes, you remember how on the Dreamweaver template I had a box called headline and a box called body text. These are again editable regions. That means it means just what it says, regions that you can edit. And so when I go back to my syllabus page, this stuff here went into the region called headline. The word syllabus and the image went into this region called headline. Everything else, this whole big table that tells all about the course, went into this region called body text. So you don't have to have different regions, but it can be a useful thing if you want to be able to distinguish between the different parts of your web page. So I could have made this whole area just one region if I wanted to, but I made it two because I like to have a separate headline and separate body text. Okay, so one of the questions a student had yesterday was, how do I set up this kind of structure? How do I make this happen with templates? Well, the easiest way, or one of the most convenient ways I think, is you go here under the Modify menu, and you're going to see a little drop-down area, drop-down menu called Templates. And the most commonly used command that you would use if you already have pages that you've created, let's say you've already made a few pages, and that is Apply Template to Page. When you select that, you're telling Dreamweaver, just imagine for a moment that I didn't have this template applied to this page. You're telling Dreamweaver, in my site, yes, I know I have all these content pages, but I've made a template page that I want to apply to all of these pages. That's what that modify command does. When I went modify templates, apply template to page, it says, which course are we in and where's the template? See, and previously I had different templates, but now I just have one. So it's saying, okay, you want that one. And I say, yes, it's the master template that's going to be applied to this syllabus page. And this checkbox says, update the page whenever the template changes. I do want that. That's what just happened a little while ago. When I changed the template, I want Dreamweaver to automatically update the syllabus page. So I select that. And now, I know you didn't see much happen, but what that means now is this syllabus page that we're currently viewing now has the template applied to it called the master template. I'm going to show you a few of the commands that are under that templates menu, just for your information. The command we just did was apply template to page, and that again makes a content page have a template applied to it. There might be a time where you want to detach a page from a template. Let's imagine this syllabus page I really want to look different for some reason. So I'm going to detach it from that master template. And you didn't see much happen, except you might notice that those editable region boxes, the one that said headline text and body text, are now gone. So that's my indicator that this is no longer part of a template. And in fact, if I go up here, you say, oh, wait a minute. Now I can actually edit these parts because this is no longer a template. I just noticed I have an extra S there. I'll take that out. So I can edit these parts because it's no longer attached to a template. And if I save this, I could actually make changes to this part up here. Let's take out this 3. Let's make this. We'll call this page design of stuff. And so I've made a change to this HTML page. If I look at the split view and I look at the code, I'll show you a difference here. you know how when you select something on the design view, it also selects it on the code view. That's a really nice way, by the way. If you're working with a long page like this one, this is a really long page, it's easy to sometimes get lost on the code view. If you double click something over here, the code view will jump to exactly where you need to be. So that's a little handy tip. But you'll note when I'm up here in what used to be part of the template, I can now edit all of this stuff. I can edit this code over here if I want to, just like I edited the title of the course up here. Now I'm going to do something. I'm going to go back to the template page, or the template menu, and I'm going to apply template to page. And it's saying, okay, you want to apply a template that you have already created and apply it to this syllabus page. I'll select the template called master, and the Dreamweaver is going to ask me, it says, okay, you have content in this syllabus page. Where does this content go? In the template called master, you've defined two regions, one called body and one called head. And so I'm going to say, okay, the body is going to go into this body text editable region. And the head is going to go into this headline region. Okay. And then I'll say okay. Now I'll see what I get. The template, the master template, which again just looks like this. This is the master template with region here and region here. Now is applied to my page, but because I had detached the page and then reattached it, it's actually left me with the old version, or the remnant of a template here that I can edit, and then the part up here that's the real template, the master template, that I can't edit. So it's actually left me with two sets of navigation. So I'm going to delete that navigation there. I have to actually delete all of this because the template, again, is taking care of it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm not going to save that page. And if I say don't save, then I don't have to keep all those changes to the syllabus page. I want to come back to syllabus because I never saved it. It's good as new. Okay. Now remember, I found a misspelling on this assignments link. That could happen to you. The nice thing about using a template is I can go to my master template, I can correct that spelling error, and you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to save it, and Dreamweaver is going to prompt me. You have all these files, Dreamweaver is telling me. You have all these files that are based on this template called master template. You want to update all of those to make that correction? And I say, yes, please, make that correction for me. And so it does all of that. Examine 12 files. 12 files are updated. No problems with any of them. So that's good news. So I'll close my little log box. And now when I go back to, this time, why don't we look at the assignments page. I look here and see the link has been corrected. So the handiness of templates. Other commands that are here, if you're working in a page and you're not sure what template is attached to it, you can select Open Attached Template, and it will look within your site and say, oh, the template's in this folder called Templates, and it's called the master template. I'll open it for you. So it opened that page for me. Just, it's a way of checking if you had multiple templates, for example, which one is attached to a given page. There are times when, for whatever reason, maybe you've been working for a long time or you've made a bunch of different changes to a page, and for some reason Dreamweaver doesn't update a page when you made a change to a template. That is, you changed a template and Dreamweaver did not recognize a page. You can manually, it's sort of like doing a manual override. You can manually tell Dreamweaver, update this page. That's what this command does. Or update pages, and it will look through the entire site or files with a certain piece of text. So that's pretty handy. Just in case for some reason your template does not update your page. you can export your page without markup. And you're probably not going to do this, so I'm not going to go too heavily into that. But just know that there are a lot of things that you can do in terms of moving the regions around, extracting the template information. But that's probably beyond what you need to know or what you need to do right now. There's one other thing. I was going to show you in the code view, when you look at a split view of a page that has a template applied to it. So again, I'm looking at our assignments page, and here's a little table, and and it's all in that body text editable region. Here's the headline, and it's an H1 header with an image here, and it's in the editable region called headline. And you'll note, of course, I can edit this stuff, but I can't edit up here in the template. When I look at the code view of this particular page, the code that is not editable appears in gray. So you'll note even when I roll over here, you see the code is in gray. And when I go down to the part that I can it's actually this assignments page, you can see it starts and shows up immediately in blue. This lets me know, okay, this is the part that is part of the actual page and not the template part. So if you get into using code view more extensively, that'll be a nice clue to you. Dreamweaver tries to help you out by sort of color coding the parts of the code. And you've seen this if you've already been looking at code view in terms of attributes are in blue, and tags are in this sort of, I have it in sort of a teal. By the way, you can change these colors in the preferences if you'd like to see something a little bit different. If this color scheme doesn't work for you, you can actually set all the code colors in the Dreamweaver preferences. But by default, anything that is part of a template appears in gray. Now, I will tell you, when you upload these files to a server, the way it is now, it's kind of two files. We have a master template file, and we have an assignments file, right? What Dreamweaver is doing is combining those. It's mashing those two files together so that you get the template text and the assignment page text. When it goes to the server and when it's displayed in a browser, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's one file. Dreamweaver basically mashes those two files together and makes one file for what the server actually sees. And so, because the server is not going to recognize something proprietary like this Dreamweaver template structure. That's one interesting thing about Dreamweaver, is this is not what web developers would call standard code. This is a non-standard, it's a Dreamweaver convention that this program uses. Now, it's a very handy one, and so I use it, and I haven't had trouble in terms of getting my pages to display correctly in browsers, and so that's why I continue to use it. But someone who's a web developer might look at templates with a little bit of disdain, perhaps, depending on their puritanical stance about how web pages should be designed. So just a heads up about that. It's not a standard. It's not a web standard. So I think that's all I can say about templates at this point. I know this has been a little bit long, and if you stuck with it, I hope it's useful in terms of learning about how templates work. They really can be very powerful when you're designing your site and you want the same element across multiple pages.